The Garzistas, led by Catarino Garza, were what historians called border people. They fought for their freedom from Mexico and the United States at the border, which led to their open warfare against both sides of the border in the late 1800s. They actively resisted the United States intervention of the Texas territory and fought to maintain the Mexican culture without assimilating to the United States lifestyle. Catarino Erasmo Garza Rodriguez, journalist, revolutionary, and folk hero, was born near Matamoros, Tamaulipas on November 24, 1859. He wrote for various publishers such as El Libre Pensador, El Bien Público, and Comercio Mexicano, where he quickly became known as someone with substantial critiques of the Mexican president Porfirio Diaz. Catarino fought and advocated for the Mexican people who were living and dealing with the discrimination of the Anglos in Brownsville, Texas. However, Garza's outspokenness to the oppression of his people led to many assassination attempts and prompted him to start taking actions for the problems that he was facing on both sides of the border. Catarino led a revolution against Diaz and his Mexican army. Garza's rebellion lasted from September 1891 into 1893, where there were 5 significant battles in Mexico. They declared that they were against Diaz because he betrayed the liberal principles of no re-election and individual freedoms, and began selling the country out to foreigners. Catarino wrote a pronunciamiento outlining what exactly would happen once his revolutionary army overthrew Diaz. The document was signed by 200 men to show their support of the overthrowing of Diaz. The pronunciamiento was written with 7 demands and 12 articles. Garza writes, "The people at all time have the right to revoke the power of their sovereign when the executive converts it into tyranny and uses it to his advantage." Garza then continues to call out General Diaz for using his power for his benefit, as well as assassinating and prostituting civilians and pitting them against themselves to provoke fear. He continued on by writing out how he plans on reconstructing the Constitution of 1857 in Mexico. Starting with Article 1 of 12, Garza called Diaz a traitor to his country, then proceeds to denounce his secretaries of state and governors equally. He then continues saying that he will be known as the Supreme Chief and that a constitutional meeting will be held 4 months after the overthrowing of Diaz to amend the Constitution. The pronunciamiento offers the option of allowing governors and other authorities to remain in their positions so long as they abide by the new structure and honorably support the Tuxtepec Plan, the Constitution 1857, national integrity, free suffrage, and no re-election. Garza wanted the region near the border to be left alone and in the hands of the people who were already there. He was very much against the modernization of the border. The Garzistas were made up of many multi-class individuals that were primarily made up of Mexicans and Texas Mexicans living on both sides of the border. People joined Garza in his attempt to overthrow the government for various reasons, whether that was for economic reasons through making some money, eating food, and looking for a brighter future, or looking to get their rights to land and dignity back from the Mexican government in Mexico and southern Texas. These people were unified in their struggle against the Diaz government back in Mexico. However, the revolution failed and there ended up being no overthrowing of Porfirio Diaz. Catarino was reportedly found dead in Bocas del Toro, Panama, but many claims were made saying that he was fighting alongside the exiled president of Ecuador and not actually dead. While many of these rumors seemed absurd, the metaphorical meaning of Garza still being alive meant that he was very much alive in the lives of many of the revolutionaries. He can be seen embodied in many Latin American revolutionaries, such as Pancho Villa, Emiliano Zapata, Che Guevara, and Ricardo Flores Magón, influencing the anti-imperialistic ideals. He also continued to influence the liberal Mexican organizations that ended up overthrowing Diaz 15 years after his death. Catarino Garza and the Garzistas embodied the will and fight that the border people had to keep out the Anglos from influencing their way of life, while at the same time advocating for those who struggled in the borderlands by fighting to overthrow the dictatorship in Mexico being led by Porfirio Diaz. Garza was met with many obstacles and opposition by people on both sides of the border. He fought with dignity and pride for the border people who neither wanted to assimilate but be ruled by a dictator of the likes of Diaz. As a revolutionary, Garza and the Garzistas never received the recognition that they deserved. Their attempts to protect the land and lifestyle of the Mexicans and Texas Mexicans living on the borderlands of North Mexico and South Texas still live on to this day through modern-day revolutionaries.